talk has been called the good, the bad, and the ugly for a long time that I've been doing it at the grower school. I've done various iterations of this talk since 1994. And hooked up with Dr. Gonzalez in the mid-90s, and then we did the talk together for years, and we do it together whenever we can. Next I know that we're doing will be at the Carolina Farm Stewardship Association conference this fall. What we think of as bad is part of the balance. And if we go out there and nuke a pest, right? When I say nuke, it's like using a heavy-duty insecticide like Gigantic, which is like one of the big guns for organic growers, right? And I highly recommend that we be very careful with that, not just because it wipes the slate and get everything out of balance by nuking things, so to speak, but also, years ago, our version of Gigantic broke them. And everybody said, oh, it's organic, we can use it, it's fine. And we weren't nearly as careful as we should have been. And I have a friend who used it a lot, and he has Parkinson's. And it's since then that indicated Parkinson's. And I suspect strongly down the road, they're going to find that pyrethrum was not as benign as they thought. It's a heavy-duty insecticide on bugs, and it acts on the nervous system. And so you may need to use it so you don't lose a crop or you don't lose the farm or whatever, but it's not a thing that they go to every time. For one thing, it just gets you in worse shape. You end up having everything out of balance because you just wipe the slate clean. And what happens when you wipe the slate clean? If you wipe out all insect life, what's the first insect life to come back? It's not going to be the carnivores, right? Because there's no prey. It's going to be the herbivores. And when enough herbivores, plant eaters, build up, then the carnivores, the predators, will move back in. And so if you keep eliminating the food for the predators, then you have to be the predator. You have to keep killing things. So that's why there isn't any good, there isn't any bad. Hang on to that paradigm, it will get ugly. So you just have to let go of good and bad. You know, a principle that we love to preach all the time is hold your fire. Likewise, I just killed a whole bunch of potato beetle eggs on squash. You know? What they just killed was a whole bunch of ladybug eggs. They look almost exactly the same. It's more got to do with how they lay and where they are than what they look like. You know? And this happens all the time. I've done it myself. I'll give you that example when we get to it. Even after preaching it, I did it myself. You know? Always hold your fire. Always make sure you know what it is. Know that even if that is the pest, by holding your fire, you're letting food there for the beneficials. Wait until you are at the economic threshold, at the point where you cannot afford to lose your crop, and it's going to go. And know that that is way further than you could ever imagine these. We always use the least toxic, the most targeted ones, and only when we absolutely have to. I mean, BT is a perfectly fine pesticide to use. You know, it only kills the pests in the butterfly and moth family, and they have to eat when you spray it on. And BT is Bacillus thuringiensis, and the one that you can use and certify that I know of. There's another one which you should name of here. So I'm not trying to push one brand, but the one that I know is called Ditel Dry Flow. There's now another one, and I think it's downstairs. I'll try and take a look and tell you so you can do different ones. But it's great because you spray it. If you make it a point to spray it on what you don't want to eat, only the butterfly and moth larvae caterpillars land there and take a bite out of that or hurt. That's a great pesticide. Why not use it whenever you see any caterpillars or when you see the moths, right? Then you'll never have any pests. Why? Because then there's no way that the coated wasps can proliferate on your farm because they don't have any food, any nurseries for the young. They lay their eggs, and you see pictures of it, in the worms, and then more and more of their young catch up, and they have such a high level of predation that you don't need to spend that money to spray, and you still have control. So that's what you're aiming to accomplish, and that's why you hold your fire, even if what you have is the perfect pesticide. And I would say that there's not a better pesticide I can think of than BT. It's pretty perfect. It's totally targeted to the problem, and its toxicity is gone in a matter of half a day at most. And basically, we don't have the right pH in our stomach to be affected by it. So it's a very fine pesticide, but still try not to use it. Okay? All right. What we're seeking is balance through a riot of diversity. And if you looked out over the garden when you came in, you'd see that there's quite a lot of diversity. Nature is our teacher. We're a part of nature. You are the source of your plant. That is your number one teacher. You, by being out, what I have to say to people is cultivate the fine art of puttering on your farm, puttering in your garden. Going out there, not directed, without a goal, right? Going out there just to like check in. You know, and maybe you'll pull a weed here, taste something there, appreciate something somewhere else, pick some flowers to bring into the house or whatever. You're really not out there trying to scout or anything. And you know what? That's when you see things you never see otherwise. It's like, let your peripheral vision do what it does best. You'll actually learn from your farm in those moments. Obviously, there are other times where you scout with a lot of purpose. If you know you have a pest problem like harlequin bugs, you're really out there looking to make sure there's no explosions, to find the little concentrations early, hit them with soap, knock them back, and get control. Yes, you do that too. But if you really want to learn how to do farmscaping and how to work with nature, there have to be times when you're in the zone. You're just getting it from nature. So that to me is a key piece. Notice and revel in the plants that are above us. And that's why when they go out while there's still a chance for you to see them. And that changes every year too. It's just got to do with the weather, how well a particular plant is doing, how much they're putting out. Basically, it's pretty wonderful. Last year we had Dr. McDonald here, and he could way more tell you more of the bugs, more of the little tiny wasp. Well, yes, that's a Maconian wasp. Yes, that's a Maconian wasp. You know, I can tell you a few, but what I can tell you is they know who they are, and they do what they need to do. What you need to be sure is that they're there. That there are these little clouds of insect life. That there's little plants that are above. Your farm, your garden is roaring with life. There's this riot of diversity, and everything is above. If that's happening, it takes care of itself. It's about being out there and seeing what's above. And then you learn neat things like you do in this class. You'll see a bunch of bachelor buttons out there. Bachelor buttons have extra floral nectaries. They actually have nectaries not in the flower, but on the leaves, at the base of the leaf. And what that is doing as a plant is it's feeding predators to come keep the aphids off of the bachelor button. One that everybody probably knows if they've ever had peonies in their yard, if you ever see the ants all over the peony buds, they're feeding on extra floral nectaries. And by doing that, they're helping those big ponderous buds to open. So the plant, for various reasons, will feed insect life. So if you just have a great diversity of plants out there, pay attention to things like extra floral nectaries, and it's great fun to learn what plants have extra floral nectaries. You can just be sure to include them in your gardening or your farming. And indeed, some of them are obvious winners anyways. Sweet potatoes have extra floral nectaries. They also make us an incredibly nutritious root, and lo and behold, you can also eat the tips, about that much of them, as a root. So they're incredibly multifunctional, and that's the point I want to make over and over again. When I talk about farmscaping, I make the point that you can have a major impact with as little as 2% of your actual production land. You've got to make sure your paths and your edges also have farmscaping in them, and you want to hopefully have trees around you, which also provide beneficial food sources and habitat. But you can actually get away with as little as 2% that is non-productive. That doesn't mean that you'll have only 2% flowers, but that there's so many other uses for those flowers. Bachelor buttons, for example, are an edible ornamental. You can actually, take the petals, scatter them in salads, and they're lovely. If you sell them in restaurants, they'll buy them for that. They also make a great cut flower. And indeed, the bachelor button blue is one of the best blues, and one of the very few blues for this time of year. So it's a very important flower for the cut flower business. Okay. Try to create a diverse habitat. That includes shady areas, sunny areas, okay, moist areas, dry areas, lots of different structures in the plants. Has anybody ever heard about fractals? You need to talk about fractals. It's this amazing thing that's in nature, just these shapes, geometric shapes that are everywhere. And plants have those, and they create great habitat. Really wonderful habitat for insects to be able to get out of the heat of the day, cool off, get away from predators, lay their eggs, mate, arborage. You want to have that diversity. You also want to have water. And what's neat is we have a plant, we'll show it to you, that gives you a water feature. Of course, that's not a surprise because nature does provide everything. The plant's called cup plant. It's a prairie sunflower. And it has a structure of leaf that kind of like does that, it goes to the stem. So at the end of the evening, all the dew is on there, builds up, and runs down the leaf, builds up a little pool at the base of each leaf. And that's a perfect amount of water for these tiny little insects to fly in, land on the leaf, get down there, and get it picked without without drowning them. And then, at the end of the day, it's all evaporated, so any mosquito larvae are toast. They don't get finished off, and then that night it gets renewed. So you can plant the plant and have it water. It's the entire web of life. You know, we're talking insects in the class and all that, but really that's misleading because bats are critical. They cut bats' bellies open to see what they eat, and they'll find massive numbers of garden pests. Cucumber beetles is one I remember. And we don't have bat houses up here, but we have this great big pond. There's plenty of habitat, and we see plenty of bats. I still want to get some bat houses up, but we also don't have cucumber problems. And I can't tell you why, except that we create incredible diversity. And indeed, that's a pest. Has anybody had cucumber beetle problems this year? I've heard from a lot of people that they're really bad this year. And yet, no big deal for us at all. And we can't tell you why. We just create the diversity and it takes care of itself. Well, then the wild in. And I actually worked with Virginia Tech, and they did an amazing job of incorporating our principles. I mean, better than we ever have done. They gave way more than 2%. I'm talking like large, like 4 or 5 foot beds, 300 feet long, with nothing but farmscaping. It was incredible. I've never done that. I never will. But it sure does work, and it sure is gorgeous. And I wrote something up for that training we were doing, and the man who was actually running the Farmscaping said, Pat, I couldn't print it because I can't tell farmers to grow weeds. You know what? I'm going to tell you to grow weeds. I'm not going to tell you to grow weeds where they're a problem, but I'm going to tell you to let the wild in, whether that's in the ditches, path here, and edge there, because once again, we don't know what's going on. We cannot tell what the next solution is. We need that deep diversity. The same thing is true of crops. You know, how do they figure out how to get more blight-resistant tomatoes and potatoes? They went to the wild edges of where potatoes come from. They found the solutions there. You know, a lot of answers are in the wild. When we breed down to simplicity. We take things that are very complex and maybe not that appealing to us, but that have incredible diversity, and we kind of narrow it down to something we want, thereby dropping off things. You know? And we take things and get them completely under control. We drop this here, we drop that there. We don't have that depth of diversity. So let the wild in where you can. Do it in a way that makes sense. I don't mean become overgrown. I don't mean lose the farm to weeds. But pay attention. By the way, some of the best eating and some of the best medicine out there is in those weed patches. We'll cover that a little bit as we're walking around. As we look at the medicine cabinet that's out there, as we look at the eating that's out there. So let the weeds happen. You know? And sometimes too, I'll look at like lamb squares. Bugs don't really use that. What's the benefit there? It's just for eating. Otherwise, if no like lamb squares, why let it be there? And then I'll notice that Scolia dubia, which if we didn't have Scolia dubia, you'll see it's a wasp, right? A digger wasp. Digs into the ground, right? Finds the giant larva of the June beetle, you know, the one that kids tie strings to fly around, you know, the great big ones. Finds them, stings them, lays an egg on them, and they become food for Scolia dubia. If we didn't have Scolia dubia, we'd be buried in those June beetles. You'd be having a hard time walking around because you'd be flying and walking into them all the time. It's because we have that balance that's there. And where is Scolia dubia? They're Scooby Duck. Scolia dubia like to hang out. Likes to hang out in the evening with its fellow wasp on the lamb's quarter or lamprey. There'll just be tons of them on the lamb's quarter or lamprey. They're just these gorgeous wasps. You'll see them, they're really lovely, and they're massively beneficial, and they're utterly gentle. You can walk through a patch of lamb quarter where these guys are all over it, disturb it, they'll all just kind of rise up gently and buzz and settle down again. And so lamb's quarters is not only good food, but it's harborage for incredibly beneficial insects. So there's always the benefit of the wild. We don't know what it is, but we learn what it is as we pay attention. Okay. Next year's solutions are this year's recipes. And the examples of that are 3 that we're going to give right now. Okay. Broccoli. broccoli has a slew of pests, we all know, and it's got a slew of beneficials to keep those pests in check. And this year on this farm, that balance has been so great that we didn't have time to remember to spray BT when the broccoli was making head, and we had a wonderful crop of broccoli and not even any worms in the head. And usually we feel like we have to spray BT with Bacillus thuringiensis right before the plant starts to head, right when it's first cupping, kind of making that little cup with a tiny bud. We spray BT right then, that we don't get worms in the head. This year we forgot. We had so much diversity, such a riot of diversity that we didn't need to do it. We had to control. Okay. A lot of those predators are on the residual broccoli remains from the year before. The Conan wasps, things like that, they'll overwinter in the litter of the broccoli field. And so by leaving a few of those finished broccoli plants at the end of the field, you can even pull them out, just throw them in a pile, right? You're allowing those beneficials to come back. By the way, so are the pests. But once again, that's okay. There isn't any good, there isn't any bad. You want the balance. You want both. You need the components. And if you you're providing the edge by putting all that nectar and pollen out there. If you have that edge, then they take care of the pests. You need the pests there actually. You need it there with a totally healthy, beneficial array of insects, and then you get the control. So that is the principle here. Okay? The other two that are really spectacular are comfrey. Of course, comfrey is wonderful medicinal. If you have a wound and you include comfrey in a healing salve, really helps to heal you. It's really incredible. It's also a bioaccumulator. It goes very deep, pulls up lots of nutrients. It also is a beneficial insect plant. It's the same family as borage, and the bugs just love it. They just buzz around. And that's, once again, that multifunctionality. It's also good poultry feed. So it's got all these uses, okay? And then, when the cold hits it, it takes a while to go down, because it'll take the first frost, it dies in the layers. If you all want comfrey, grows in layers, like really thick layers of leaves, and nice and big. When it dies in layers. And you know what? That layering is perfect insulation for a huge array of insects. So they found that all kinds of insects, good and bad, come out of that comfrey residue. And you know, years ago, I read the other Organic Gardening Encyclopedia and magazine. There's a whole thing about garden cleanup, and every fall, come in and take every last thing up, because you got to get rid of all those bugs. The bugs are in the residues. Now I've learned, yeah, the bugs are in the residues. That's not what we in the garden. It's all about balance. It's all about having to tweak everything, though, because something else is going to be on that broccoli. It's going to be alternaria, which is a disease that attacks broccoli. You've ever seen it starts like a yellow wedge and then becomes kind of a circle. It's got a brown spot in it. Same family as early blight on tomatoes. You don't want to leave too much. If you have a problem with that, you can leave more spores. A little bit, you can deal with it. It's around anyways. Have healthy plants and know what to spray. We did a talk on disease control last year. You can put that up on the Little Red Farm site to see how to deal with that. You can have a little bit of alternaria around. You wouldn't want to leave an entire field of alternaria infested broccoli plants without expecting to have major alternaria problems. So it's about balance. It's about learning to tweak. You may not get it right the first time, but pay attention and let nature teach you. You will get it. The last one that works like this, I'm going to mention, but plenty of other plants do, is yarrow. Spectacular beneficial insect plants. Insects love it. They love to feed on it. It's that nice broad, you know, humble kind of flower that they can land on easily. Nice open flowers to feed on. Wonderful all those ways. And then when it dies in layers. That same kind of layer thing, and it's the perfect kind of place for the beneficials. So those are just some examples of plants that you just want to let have some residue on your farm so you get that diversity. And by the way, if I have sold you on yarrow, pull out a root piece or two for anybody that wants to take some. One of the things I like to say about farms and gardens, in agriculture and horticulture, that brings out the generosity in us, because nature is so generous that we cannot help but share what we have, because we have so much. And we tend to want to share.